Loyal viewers of this channel know that I am a nerd for football history, and nothing brings that side of me out like the Super Bowl, the pinnacle of history being made at every snap and every whistle. So, to prepare ourselves for another chapter in Super Bowl history, I'll give out my rankings for the top 5 best Super Bowls of this quarter century, since they really only started getting competitive around the turn of the century anyway. Some honorable mentions: Super Bowl 57, Chiefs over Eagles 38-35, a shootout with an underwhelming ending. Super Bowl 38, Patriots over Panthers 32-29. Shout out to Moose and Muhammad and of course Steve Smith. Super Bowl 45, Packers over Steelers 31-25, an underrated one in my opinion. The league's two most historic franchises, two future Hall of Fame quarterbacks, Greg Jennings, good stuff. I know I missed some, sorry about that, but on to the list. Number 5, Super Bowl 42. This game just coasts off pure historical significance, and it might be the most significant game in NFL history. I remember a middle school teacher telling me if the Zimmerman telegram hadn't been intercepted, we'd all be speaking German. Well, if David Tyree didn't catch that ball, maybe we'd all have Boston accents and drink Sam Adams every weekend. In all seriousness, and I say this as an Eagles fan, thank God the Giants won this game. Had they not, all we would talk about all day would be this Patriots team. Every team that won a Super Bowl would be considered great, but not quite the 2007 Patriots, the way people like to talk about 2019 LSU and 2001 Miami in college football. Aren't you a little tired of seeing each national champion compared to 2019 LSU seconds after the clock hits zero? Imagine that in the NFL. It would be insufferable. Look, man, I'm not a big Eli Manning should be in the Hall of Fame guy. I'm just not. I watched the games. He didn't exactly strike fear, but this run was incredible, and the escape and throw to Tyree, plus the actual touchdown to Plaxico Burress, is just the stuff of legend. So much so that I've got zero problem with Giants fans putting on for their guy. This Patriots team is fascinating because if you ask anyone who has watched the NFL closely, this is probably the best team ever assembled, and therefore Super Bowl 42 was the biggest letdown possible in sports history, or at least in the history of the NFL. Brady just hitting his 15-year prime, throwing to Randy Moss and Wes Welker with a still dominant Belichick defense. It was unfair. This game isn't higher on the list because the game itself was not incredible despite being close the whole way, a good defensive battle, but the games ahead just had so many more insane field swinging plays. But perhaps the best 4-man rush performance ever in a big game kept the Giants hanging around long enough for God to intervene in that fourth quarter, and for that we should be thankful. Number 4, Super Bowl 51. I remember this game being such a blowout that I started rooting for the Patriots to come back, and then James White crossed the goal line in overtime, and my immediate thought was, what have I done? As time goes on and the 49ers keep impressing the football world under Kyle Shanahan, sometimes I find myself thinking that the whole Falcons should have run the ball more thing is overblown. And then you go back and watch the game, and yeah, it's really that bad. On the other side, this really was peak Brady. This was a Pats team without Gronk, just Brady, his minions, and his mind, essentially putting together a perfect second half of offense to send this one to overtime. I can live with Matt Ryan not having a ring, but I find it very difficult to live with Julio Jones not having one. I go back and forth, but Julio hovers around that 5th all-time receiver spot for me. His catch in this game is looked back on more so with pity than reverence, and that just stinks. Anyway, this game is an unbelievable achievement, but it was a game of two halves rather than a back and forth affair. One team showed up for each half, and the Pats got the ball in OT. Great comebacks are also great collapses. So I've never seen this game as the Falcons bring the best out of the Patriots, which is how I see the final 3 games on this list. Number 3, Super Bowl 43. This game absolutely rules. Larry Fitzgerald in the middle of perhaps the best playoff run ever by a receiver. How about a 99-yard pick 6 by James Harrison? And let's top it off with a gravity-defying toe tap in the corner of the end zone to win the damn Super Bowl. The Cardinals were an insane story to begin with. Kurt Warner had taken over from Matt Leinart during the season and just started looking like the greatest show on turf Kurt Warner, 7 years on, with gray hair. I really urge you to go back and at least watch the condensed highlights of this game, because the reality is the James Harrison pick 6 and Santonio Holmes toe tap touchdown are just as good as football can possibly get. That's why I love this game. You get absolutely everything from it. The most historically great franchise of the Super Bowl era versus the league's oldest team who had never been in the stage before found themselves going blow for blow. It was epic. Number 2, Super Bowl 52. Yeah, this one's a little personal. This is the kind of game that I was referencing in my justification for putting 28-3 in the 4 spot. This game was just a start-to-finish shootout, with the Eagles and Patriots combining for the NFL record in total yards. Nick Foles, of course, entered God mode in this game, carrying on his heater from the NFC Championship game. One of the truly great hot streak athletes of all time. Foles could just get on a roll. But Tom Brady, the GOAT, played probably the best game of his career in this game and lost. Patriots fans love to blame Belichick benching Malcolm Butler for this loss. I guess that contributed, but while Malcolm Butler has the biggest play in NFL history to his name, he wasn't a leader or anything. And also, look at the throws Foles was making in this game and tell me anyone could stop him on that day. Nice try. This game featured, of course, the iconic Philly special on 4th and goal, and also a game-winning drive by Foles culminating in a touchdown to Zach Ertz. Brady and Gronk were dialed in the whole damn game, and of course, poetically, the first team to make a big defensive play won the game. I still can't see the Brandon Graham strip sack without my eyes welling up with tears. I still can't believe it happened. A backup quarterback beats the GOAT in a shootout to give America's birthplace its first Lombardi trophy. Hard to do any better than that. But we're gonna. Number 1, Super Bowl 49. Never ever say I'm not objective. I, like many, hate this game. I don't look back on it fondly, or at least the ending. I don't revisit it often, but gun to my head, if you told me to give an example of American football being played at the highest level, I would submit this game as the standard, along with 13 seconds game and maybe a little Brady Manning action. The Legion of Boom is the most iconic defense of the century, and I want to be clear that it deserves to be. Obviously the numbers back it up, but they talk that trash too, man. They were the embodiment of what every great defense should be. Russell Wilson was really ascending towards elite status, all while throwing to the likes of Doug Baldwin and Jermaine Kearse. Chris Matthews came out of nowhere to play the game of his life in the Super Bowl and never got hurt from again. Obviously they had Marshawn Lynch. Beast mode is a borderline Hall of Famer and weirdly is one of the most visible former athletes today, but back when he was a running back, the dude was just iconic. And on the Patriots side, I think this was the start of, but also the peak of the late Brady era, as he had a healthy Gronk and Edelman in their athletic primes as well. This game was a shootout that only intensified in the fourth quarter. Jermaine Kearse made a miraculous catch to set up Seattle to score a touchdown to win the game, and of course, you all know what happens next. Malcolm Butler. Yeah, it's the worst decision ever not to hand it to Marshawn Lynch, the best power back in the league, with a timeout. There's just no overblowing how awful that call was and how great of a play it was by Malcolm Butler to come down with the ball. It still hurts to see Sherman's face seeing the play happen. It gets lost that the Seahawks also jumped off sides when the Pats were stuck inside the 1, and that kind of bailed them out, but it would have taken a miracle anyway. The real legacy of this game for me is the what if of it all. If Wilson doesn't throw that pick to Butler, not only does the Legion get cemented as the best defense of all time perhaps, but they probably stay together and contend for a few more years at least. Instead, they all turned on Russell Wilson and broke up not long after, with Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas, Richard Sherman, and Bobby Wagner all with plenty of good football still left. The Seahawks became the Russell Wilson show, which wasn't bad, but never saw them reach these heights again. And then there's the Patriots what if of it all. What if Brady lost his 3rd straight Super Bowl? Would he have kept going? Would Kraft have broken things up? Would he be the GOAT? Maybe Rodgers would be. Maybe Manning would be. How would we perceive Belichick? Anyway, a game that sticks in your head this much a decade later has to be the best of the best. I hope you all enjoyed this. Tune in later this week for my final official preview of the game. Until next time, please like and subscribe.